Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. It's Friday, and we have another great show for you as you head into the weekend. First, Donna Adelson. She's got sentencing on Monday. I wonder what she's thinking about. The O'Keefe family enhances their legal representation in the wrongful death lawsuit against Karen Reed. A man has been arrested after a threatening Halloween decoration display. That's interesting. A Florida woman's epic deception exposed on cop cam after plugging her husband, and then scoring a jailhouse baby. A Playboy model known for cruising in her Porsche lured at least 10 elderly men to rob them. An adult impersonates a teen to excel in high school sports and exploit minors. We've got This Day in Legal History. Our quote of the day relates to the predictability of criminal overconfidence. And our dumb criminal of the day. Wait till you hear it. Let's talk about it.
All right, lawyer.
Good day, everyone. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk. Thanks for joining us. You know the drill. Subscribe if you haven't, like if you do, leave me a comment below, and remember to hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live or put up new content. Now, also, let me remind you, go to crimetalksearch.com, sign up for that background subscription service today. When you do, you'll be able to do a background search just like the pros, and it will be prepared and emailed to you literally while you wait. It's going to have all types of information, phone numbers, email address, social media presence. You're going to find out about someone's criminal history. Are they divorced? Are they married? Do they have liens and judgments against them? And, are they on one of those public registries you don't want to be on? Go to crimetalksearch.com, find out. You're going to be happy you did. And remember, you can cancel at any time. So whether you want to do one search or 1,000 searches, it's completely up to you. All right, let's go ahead and open the record for Friday, October 10th, 2025. First, Donna Adelson sentencing is coming up. That's right. Donna Adelson is scheduled to appear in a Leon County courtroom on Monday for her formal sentencing related to the murder of Florida State University law professor Dan Markle. Now, Leon County State Attorney Jack Campbell announced on Thursday that the sentencing will occur on October 13th, which is one day prior to the date originally set for a status conference. In September, Adelson became the fifth person convicted in the murder for hire plot targeting her former son-in-law, who was fatally shot outside his residence in Tallahassee back in 2014. Her son, Charlie, had previously been convicted on identical charges, and the jury determined that she orchestrated the killing and provided the money to the perpetrators through her son and his former girlfriend. Following her conviction, Adelson submitted a motion requesting a new trial, which Judge Stephen Everett promptly rejected. She now faces a mandatory life sentence for the offense of first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and solicitation to commit murder. Let's face it, sentencing in this particular case is a perfunctory matter. Everybody knows what the sentence is going to be, but this gives the victim's family the opportunity to speak. And obviously, Miss Adelson will get the right to make a statement in allocution if she chooses to do so. Now, since there's going to be an appeal pending, her attorneys will more than likely advise her not to say a word, just like she did in the trial. Nothing good's going to come from that. The only thing she has on appeal are legal issues. Let the appellate courts solve it. Nothing good is going to come from her opening her mouth tomorrow. Like I said, it's completely perfunctory. Next, John O'Keefe's family enhances the legal representation in the lawsuit against Karen Reed. That's right. The family of John O'Keefe has fortified its legal team in the ongoing wrongful death lawsuit against Karen Reed by engaging California attorney B.B. Fell. Now, a development that may substantially influence the proceedings. Fell, who's the founder of the Fell law firm and a specialist in catastrophic injury and wrongful death litigation, contributes extensively expertise to the O'Keefe's family efforts, and her notable achievements included obtaining the second largest personal injury verdict in California history back in 2018, which was in excess of $100 million, as well as securing a $5 million settlement in a case involving a child struck while cycling. Now, the lawsuit, initiated by O'Keefe's parents, brother, and niece, targets Miss Reed and two establishments frequented by the group prior to O'Keefe's death in January of 2022. It asserts that Reed, while intoxicated, struck O'Keefe with her vehicle and abandoned him in sub-freezing conditions outside a residence in Canton, Massachusetts. The allegations mirroring those presented by the prosecutors in the criminal case. Now, although Reed was acquitted of the murder charges in her criminal trial, she was convicted of operating a motor vehicle under the influence and received a probationary sentence. It is critical to note that irrespective of the criminal acquittal, the civil action may advance due to its lower evidentiary threshold, which requires only a preponderance of the evidence rather than proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, Ms. Reed has similarly reinforced her defense by retaining attorney Alan Jackson, who assisted her during the criminal proceedings. And in a recent court hearing, Judge Daniel O'Shea dismissed a claim of negligent infliction of emotional distress on behalf of O'Keefe's niece. Still, the judge permitted claims of reckless and intentional infliction of emotional distress to continue. The ruling focused not on O'Keefe's death per se, but on Reed's purported dissemination of a narrative implicating the family in a cover-up, allegedly in coordination with blogger Aidan Kearney, known as Turtle Boy. And apparently those two have had a somewhat falling out, which is really going to be interesting. Anyway, the involved parties are set to reconvene in court in November, with discovery extending through December of the following year. A trial date has not yet been set. Next, a true issue of free speech. A man is arrested after displaying threatening Halloween decorations. A creative soul in Powell County, Texas, decides to spruce up his front yard with what he must have thought was an avant-garde art faux body bags, neatly tagged with the names of local bigwigs. Because, well, you know, nothing says community spirit quite like implying violent ends to your elected officials, right? Anyway, the local leader, Eddie Barnes, who mercifully escaped being immortalized in this macabre exhibit, confessed to a moment of bewilderment upon spotting the display during a drive-by. He thought, wow, that's a bit over the top, he mused, having crossed paths with the 58-year-old artist, Stephen Markham, for years. Now, Barnes graciously allows that, Markham isn't all bad, but shockingly draws the line at this particular form of expression. Enter the police, who weren't amused by the spectacle either. Markham found himself hauled off on charges of terroristic threatening after a prosecutor tipped off state troopers because, as any half-informed citizen knows, the First Amendment's generous umbrella of free speech apparently doesn't extend to thinly veiled threats designed to terrorize. So let me remind you that although Americans can spout opinions till the cows come home, actively menacing other kind of crosses into unprotected territory. Let's not forget, in this enlightened era, what might once have passed as edgy humor now risks being interpreted as a genuine blueprint for mayhem. How inconvenient for those nostalgic for less sensitive days. Well, Mr. Markham, now cooling his heels in the county jail, pondering life on a modest $5,000 bond, while his props enjoy a new home at the state police outpost. Any lessons learned here? Threats masquerading as decor aren't the protected speech some wish they were. Imagine that. Now, I frankly think this is protected free speech here in this particular case. It's Halloween, and just because you put one of the public officials' names on one of the body bags, I don't necessarily think that that is a true threat. There's no indication whatsoever that there's something going around, but simply saying that one thinks that a person should be deceased or they think it is a joke is probably going to be ultimately decided by a jury. But threats in this case, I don't know. The Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, has set some standards where you have to show that the person who's charged, the defendant, that they knew in their mind that would upset and be perceived as a threat to the person that sees it. But of course, the person who it's supposedly threatened to doesn't actually even have to see it. I did a case that ultimately went to the United States Supreme Court. Well, I take that back. We tried to get cert to the Supreme Court, where the client maybe wrote some letters to maybe some prosecutors and judges that he had some interactions with in some previous court appearances. And, maybe said, hey, let me tell you about some dreams that I was having, where he basically went through this horrific dream scenario where, let's just say, he removed various body parts of male and females with vice grips. The judge, who had passed away, didn't even get it, but he was also listed as a victim in that particular case. But a jury of his peers, after the case did go up originally to the United States Supreme Court, it came back down and we lost and it didn't go back up again. But jury said, yeah, that's a threat. So we'll just have to see what happens to Mr. Markham's case. And was it really a threat? Bad taste? It's a fine line. But yes, First Amendment is not absolute. Threats, not covered. Defamation, not covered. You don't have a right to slander people. And a lot of people don't realize that on the internet. They think they can say anything under the guise of First Amendment. Well, guess what? No. Because if, let's say, for example, I post something horrible about somebody, completely false on the internet, there's no free speech implication there at all. There's no government action, right? Only if I was going to be prosecuted for that would there be a First Amendment argument on that, but not by private parties. You can't say anything about anybody, certainly when you know it's not true. And so be careful out there, my friends. It's easy to be a keyboard warrior. It's another thing, well, when the attorneys come suing you because you put up a bunch of false defamatory information. Next on the docket, Florida woman's epic deception. That's right. Let's take a look at this. So, because nothing says true love and innocence quite like faking a hysterical discovery of your bleeding spouse in an alley, only to later confess you were the one who put the bullet in him. Meet Daisy Link, a 30-year-old Florida genius currently starring in her own murder trial for offing her husband, Pedro Jimenez, back in 2022. Now, prosecutors are just thrilled to share body cam footage from the incident at a court hearing yesterday, where our distraught damsel is caught red-handed, or should I say red-faced, spinning a web of lies while cops desperately try to keep the guy alive. So here's how it goes down. Officers stumble upon a man wailing for help in a homestead back alley, dramatically screeching, "Pedro, what on earth happened?" As if she hadn't just turned him into a human pincushion. "Don't budge. I spot a hole in the back, and the one in the front looks like a leg shot," she oh so helpfully informs them. But wait, big plot twist here. Prosecutors reveal she was totally placating the shocked finder of her hubby sprawled out there. "I just spotted him lying around," she claimed to the police. Spoiler alert, she eventually confessed, though being the trigger-happy one herself. Now, let's not forget the neighbor's hot tip. Apparently, he caught her pacing outside like a caged tiger, all worked up right around shooting o'clock. How convenient. Now, the defense's heartwarming spin, that's right, they're peddling the classic "he had it coming" defense. I told you it was a real defense, ladies and gentlemen. The dead guy deserved killing. No, I'm joking. Anyway, the defense is painting Jimenez as some raging monster who abused her for years. Her lawyer, Antonio Tomas, regaled the jury with tales of her valiant escape attempts. She bent over backwards to ditch this lunatic, he proclaimed. He was a loose cannon, totally bonkers and deadly. Oh, and bonus drama, just 5 days prior, she says that he clocked her with a pistol during a spat. Touching stuff, right? But hold the tissue. Separate video footage shows our heroine casually strolling off through a park post-shooting, being cool as a cucumber, muttering to herself, "Oops, might have nicked a big artery, but hey, you'll pull through." Prosecutors, the ever killjoys, insist it was pure fury-fueled vengeance, not self-preservation. Apparently, Jimenez wasn't charging at her. Nope. He was hightailing it away, terrified for his sorry little life. And then the courtroom tears when the damning body cam rolled. If convicted, she's looking at a lifetime behind bars for hubby homicide. Riveting, isn't it? Yes, it is. But wait, there's more absurdity. This mom managed to make headlines by getting knocked up in the slammer, courtesy of a fellow inmate and accused killer, Joan DePaz. How, you ask? Through the air vents, naturally, because when you're in solitary, why not start a vent-based fling? They never even met in person or touched. DePaz cheekily compared it to the Virgin Mary. Instead, they chatted via knocks on the vents, standing on toilets like star-crossed lovers in a bad romance. Notes, pics, deep conversations ensued, turning isolation into intimate hours. DePaz dreamed of fatherhood, sighed about his long wait, and picked the mom as the baby's mama. Her response, sure, let's make it happen. Facing grim trials, she figured, why not exit with some fireworks? Their genius plan? DePaz wrapped his contribution in plastic wrap 5 times a day for a month, no less, rolled it like a smoke, tied it to a bed chain, and the vent fished it to her. And then guess what? She used a yeast infection tool to, well, seal the deal. Shockingly, it worked after a few tries. She was over the moon. Can't believe. Total miracle baby. A real gift. Anyway, the kiddo arrived on June 19th and is now chilling with DePaz's mom. The parents keep tabs via video from separate prisons, cooing over their vent spawn. The family first cried assault and demanded probes, but oops, turns out it was consensual vent magic. Anyway, everybody's gushing that the girl's destined for greatness. How inspirational in the end. It's just heartwarming how one little lie on camera can snowball into this masterpiece of human folly. Stay tuned for the verdict. Fingers crossed for more plot twists. You can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. I remember when that story came out, how they said that they couldn't understand how she got pregnant. And then it turned out they were passing stuff through the vents. Unbelievable. Next on the docket, a Playboy model. Can you imagine this? Known for cruising around in her Porsche, luring elderly men so that she can rob them. That's right, not 1, not 2, but 10. What a charming tale of modern romance. Yes, take a look at this. A glamorous 28-year-old stunner, fresh from the pages of Playboy and Penthouse, decides that swiping right on social media isn't just for love. It's her golden ticket to ransacking the homes of at least 10 trusting senior gentlemen in the ritzy corners of Los Angeles County. Because nothing says soulmate like sizing up your date's valuable while pretending to be their devoted companion. Now, police from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department are oh so generously putting out the call for more victims, suspecting this isn't her first rodeo. Going by clever monikers like Mia Ventura, Shoshana, and Shana, our enterprising heroine allegedly cruises around in a sleek black Porsche SUV or a pristine white Mercedes-Benz sedan, presumably funded by her self-proclaimed status as an Israeli's pioneering top OnlyFans sensation. Standing at a statuesque 5'7" and tipping the scales at a svelte 105 pounds with those captivating dark locks and brown eyes, she is the epitome of the girlfriend you never saw coming until your jewelry vanishes. As of midweek, she's still out there enjoying her freedom despite a felony warrant arrest in May that saw her post bail and then vanish into the sunset. Who knows if it's all connected? Details are delightfully murky, but hey, this isn't some rare unicorn of a scheme. Apparently, it's practically a trend in upscale spots like LA and Miami, where ladies meet gents at bars, slip them a little something extra in their drinks, and waltz off with their fancy timepieces. Now, experts, some sage advice here. Don't wire cash to strangers or welcome them into your abode. I know this may come as a huge surprise, But if you are, an older age gentleman and some 25-year-old penthouse model is coming up to you, it's probably either a joke or she's a prostitute or she's going to rob you. Just get used to it. Anyway, podcast personality Michael Saratan spilled to local news that she's been a fixture at swanky charity galas in Las Vegas and LA, and spends a lot of time in the Vegas nightlife, where she allegedly turns nasty and issues threats to anyone dare question her sticky fingers. A couple of other supposed marks chimed in with their sob stories to the press. But wait, in a chat with a tabloid, she spun a yarn about being the real victim here. Ensnared in some shadowy plot by powerful folks, she's ticked off. Because obviously, when you're caught with your hands in the cookie jar, it's everyone else's fault. So, if you've got the scoop on the alleged mastermind of hearts and heists, do ring up the sheriff's department. They could use a good laugh or at least a few good leads. Next on the docket, what a stellar plan. An adult impersonates being a teenager to excel at high school sports. Oh yeah, and go after young kids. So in a display of unparalleled ingenuity, a 22-year-old Minnesota resident decided that reliving his teenage years, complete with football glory and predatory behavior, was the height of sophistication. Please meet Kelvin Lubecki, ever the master of deception, allegedly infiltrated White Bear Lake High School under a fabricated persona, only to face accusation of misconduct towards underage girls. How utterly reassuring. Lubecki's charade unraveled last month when a perceptive young student spotted his booking photo from a separate legal mishap and identified him as her supposed peer. By Monday, law enforcement had applied for a warrant to scrutinize his mobile device, prompted by distressing accounts from parents and pupils alike. These included claims from several adolescent females about ongoing interactions with him, as reported by the police. To further justify this overdue scrutiny, officials cited notifications from worried guardians on September 30th regarding potential assaults. A dedicated school officer is now probing an especially charming allegation that Lubecki solicited explicit images from a minor while masquerading as a fellow student. Though arrested briefly last week for breaching probation in an unrelated matter and held in Washington County, he has since been freed because evidently the system moves at a leisurely pace. Now, should the warrant be granted, investigators intend to meticulously review his communications and media files, though formal charges remain pending as of Friday afternoon. One parent, by the name of April Jorgensen, a mother of 3, expressed her profound confidence in the institution. It is deeply comforting to know our children's safety is in such capable hands. However, did she individual gain access? She wisely noted the necessity of verifiable records and health checks for such endeavors, lamenting the inexplicable oversight. The application for the warrant disclosed that Lubecki managed to evade detection for an impressive 19 days, and according to the district superintendent, he enrolled as an unaccompanied homeless youth brandishing a foreign birth certificate purporting him to be 18 years of age. How convenient that the document bore all the hallmarks of legitimacy, watermarks, stamps, the works, leaving no room for suspicion during the entire process. Now, the principal, in a heartfelt missive to families, acknowledged that an adult over 21 had cleverly bypassed their robust protocols. But he assured everyone that student welfare remains paramount, crediting vigilant staff, parents, and students for exposing the ruse. Lubecki even graced the football team's lineup and maintained online profiles touting his impending graduation from various Minnesota schools in prior years, a testament to his forward-thinking career in athletics. The principal's communications confirmed the use of falsified papers and aliases, noting that the perpetrator is now barred from district grounds and that he was in custody at the time. Police learned of his true identity following an arrest by another agency, leading to a brief detention in another county before his prompt release. Delightfully, this episode ties back to Lubecki's 2023 guilty plea for indecent exposure. At age 20, he reportedly dispatched unsolicited explicit content to a 15-year-old via social media, prompting her to sever contact, only for him to persist elsewhere and throw in a couple of threats as well. Now, a protection order was issued for the victim, who's now 17, after her guardian detailed his intrusive behavior, including unannounced visits, verbal aggressions, and unauthorized recording. Lubecki had gallantly misrepresented his age to her as being only 17, even producing a certificate as proof. A subsequent order was granted this past Monday, citing ongoing inappropriate pursuits since 2023 that have admirably impacted her well-being. In a twist of irony, however, Honesty Jones, a recent graduate who briefly worked with Lubecki in sales, was astonished to discover his actual age, given his convincingly useful facade. She recalled his tale of documents discrepancies due to Liberian heritage, and while no overt alarm sounded, his preferences in companionship raised subtle concerns. Consistently favor younger, fair-skinned individuals, as she observed. Court records reveal a history of minor infractions, including traffic offenses and disruptive conduct, all building to the pinnacle of poor judgment. The community, understandably thrilled, has directed ire at the administrators for permitting an adult to mingle undetected for weeks. Calls for the superintendent's resignation abound, with one student anonymously suggesting accountability for those who allowed this to slip by. Even the politicians and alum have advocated for leadership changes and enhanced safeguards, remarking on the cascading of failures that enables this fiasco. After all, parents deserve the utmost assurance that schools are bastions of security, not playgrounds for imposters trying to diddle little kids, ladies and gentlemen. And what have I told you before, ladies and gentlemen? People will go to great lengths to get to your children. Be careful who has access to your children. And could you imagine somebody being able to enroll in school without any form of ID? If you don't have a parent, I don't know about you, I presented my ID twice today, going in and out of courthouses every day. And somebody can just enroll in school? Unbelievable. Anyway, whoever the children were that were inappropriately touched, harassed, or anything along those lines by this genius here, guess what? School's going to be writing a check as well for their negligence in failing to supervise who they let into their school. I bet they're going to get a lot more strict. Probably require a parent, some sort of other ID. Unbelievable. Next on the docket, this day in legal history. On October 10th, 1973, Vice President Spiro Agnew resigned from his office in the face of allegations of tax fraud. 2 days later, President Richard Nixon appointed House Minority Leader to replace Agnew as his VP. Our legal quote of the day has to do with the predictability of criminal overconfidence. The eternal delusion of the criminal mind. What the hell do they imagine they're accomplishing by flouting the law? As if the scales of justice are perpetually tipped in favor of their half-baked schemes. One might almost pity the fool who believes invincibility comes standard with audacity until the handcuffs remind them otherwise. Unknown author. And then finally, our dumb criminal of the day. So, our dumb criminal, a brilliant mastermind indeed from the state of Florida, found himself slapped with some federal charges this week after supposedly nabbing $7,000 worth of scratch-off lottery tickets from a local convenience store, only to waltz back in like a total pro just hours later to cash them in. Please meet Justin Farley, who rolled up to a St. Petersburg Circle K on May 5th, casually rifled through several cabinets and helped himself to a bunch of those shiny lottery tickets before zipping off in his unremarkable gray Hyundai Elantra, as detailed in the probable cause affidavit. But Justin Farley, casually about 40 minutes post-heist, this Einstein popped over to a nearby 7-Eleven, attempting to turn his ill-gotten gains into cold, hard cash. All $7,000 of it, according to the court records. And when that flopped spectacularly, our hero doubled down on his foolproof plan by heading straight back to the very Circle K he just robbed, trying to redeem the 7 books of tickets he'd swiped from there. Shockingly, that didn't work either. The filing notes with that he can only imagine with a straight face. Regardless, undeterred by his string of epic fails, he ditched the place briefly, only to return minutes later for yet another swing and a miss, strike 3, as per the court records. Finally, channeling his inner action star, a frustrated Farley masked up in black, donned a yellow shirt and black Nikes and stormed back into the 7-Eleven, brandishing what looked like a Glock firearm. Spoiler, it was fake. He demanded the clerk pop open the register. Lo and behold, he actually scored this time, snagging a whopping $120 from the drawer before herding the employees to the back and graciously adding a pack of Newport smokes to his haul. Anyway, thanks to a treasure trove of clues like license plates and crystal clear surveillance video, police nabbed Farley during a traffic stop on May 22nd, charging him with commercial burglary and grand theft. Post-arrest, shockingly, he confessed to needing cash desperately, per the affidavit, and in a taped chat with officers, he owned up to the Circle K theft and the 7-Eleven holdup, though it's a little fuzzy if he spilled the beans on his multiple genius-level return visits. While cooling his heels on state raps, a Tampa grand jury hit him with a federal indictment finalized Tuesday. Now he's staring down one count of interfering with commerce through threats or violence under the Hobbs Act, which cracks down on robberies messing with interstate businesses. The shining example of intellect also boasts a colorful rap sheet featuring felony convictions for drugs and guns. Congratulations, Mr. Farley. You are our dumb criminal of the day. Congratulations, you made it. What can I say? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time. And remember, the Constitution matters.